dark haze. Ladies of the night with eyes of red, vampires in the alleys where good men dread, wolfmen howling beneath the pale moon. But justice is coming and coming soon. From saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk among us, secrets they keep, nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. Cryptids themselves, yet they stand tall against the darkness, answering the call for every lost soul, every whispered prayer. They fight for the light in the midnight air. From saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk among us, secrets they keep, nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. The night is young, the hunt begins. For against the darkness where hope never ends.
Good evening, folks. Thank you guys for joining us on the Wednesday edition of the Nightmare Hunter podcast. You got the three guys in cowboy hats. Carrie Pocket Doc Davis is with us from a mountain of snow in the southern part of Colorado. And Robbie Rip Rains is here with us from the great state of South Carolina. And we've got a great show for you all tonight. You guys spoke and we listened. You guys were so happy with the Bigfoot show we did the other night of Bigfoot of the Old West. We decided to continue that trend with hauntings of the Old West. And when I started digging into this, I found so much material. Which, depending on how much of this we can actually get through, there may be a part 2 or even a part 3 because I found a lot of notes. So before we jump into that, let me see how the boys are doing. Robbie, Doc, how the hell are you boys?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
Doc, I am loving that vest. Robbie, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. That's the first time you called me Rip in like a year.
Well, it's been a while. It
You
was
said that, I'm
coming.
like, who?
Who's Rip?
You guys will be watching tonight in the chat. You'll be seeing that last week we didn't have it up, and we do now. Robbie's newest book, Avalon Rising, is doing very well in the charts, and you guys will be seeing the link for it popping up in chat as well. But tonight we encourage you guys to step into the shadows of the Old West with us. We're going to be exploring chilling paranormal events that can cover ghost stories and haunted legends of America's frontier towns. From infamous gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona, to the cursed streets of Bodie, California. The tragic spirits of the Copper Queen Hotel and the violent echoes inside the St. James Hotel. Each episode blends history, folklore, and supernatural encounters into immersive storytelling. So we hope you guys will join us tonight as we start digging into some of the America's Old West haunted locations and the terrifying stories behind them. And one of the one we're going to be starting out with is, well, if any of you guys have seen the series Deadwood, which was actually a really good series, maybe not 100% historically accurate, but it was still a good series. It takes place in a little town called Deadwood, South Carolina. And Doc has actually been there. And since Doc has actually been to that location, I thought I'd let him start us out by giving us a little history behind behind Deadwood, South Carolina. Deadwood, South Dakota. Sorry.
Well, you said that, and I was like,
I know.
South
I was like,
Carolina. I just moved the whole damn thing east. Screw it.
Way east.
geographically east. Yeah. So Deadwood, South Dakota. Basically, it was a outlaw town from the get go, and it wasn't until and hey everybody, I said hey, how y'all doing? Deadwood was unofficially formed in 1876 when they found gold in the Black Hills of South Dakota. If y'all have never been, beautiful country, and it was in direct violation of the Sioux Treaty of 1868, and so. Back in June of 1876, they had a little dust up in Montana, the Battle of Greasy Grass, also known as the Battle of Little Bighorn. And during that time, I mean, all these folks, all these prospectors came flooding in, along with the things that needed to support prospectors: the hotels, the restaurants, the brothels, the saloons, everything like that. And Seth Bullock was one of the first early dudes to come in. Him and his partner Saul Starr, and Seth had been a lawman in Montana, and they set up a little hardware outfit there, selling all the accoutrement to the miners there. And so they had their little hardware store right there on Main Street on the corner, and it was there for years and years and years. It survived a couple of fires. Finally, when it burnt down, for the second time, they rebuilt a hotel there named the Bullock Hotel, and which is still standing today on the same exact spot and is quite the active location.
Absolutely. Well, like Doc was saying, Seth Bullock built the hotel in the 1890s, and witnesses that have been there today still claim his spirit roams the building, especially near his old office. Guests have reported unexplained footsteps, cold spots, and the sensation of being watched. His ghost is said to be protective rather than malevolent, appearing when staff slack off or guests get unruly, as if he's still keeping order. Which I think is just absolutely freaking awesome. Doc, you have a story about that, don't you?
I do. So years ago, I had gone to Deadwood. I wanted to see the Black Hills. I wanted to see Deadwood. I wanted to go we went to Cody and everything, and stayed at the Irma Hotel out there. Saw the Museum of the West. But while I was in Deadwood, stayed in the Bullock Hotel. I'd read about its history, and so. My youngest daughter was just a few months old at that time, and my oldest son was about 16 or so, and so he was there in the hotel room with her our other daughter, and so me and my ex went down the street or right down the bar to have a drink in the saloon, right in the number 10 saloon. So we went down there, had a quick drink. I just wanted to see it. We came back, and my oldest son was like white-faced. He was like, what the heck's going on? He's like, I said, what do you mean what's going on? He said, well, Dad, he said, somebody keeps knocking on the door every 5 minutes, and I go to the door, and there's nobody there. And we were in an older part of the hotel at the very end of the hallway. There was nobody. There was no other rooms around us. You had to go up the stairs and take a left and go down the hall. Well, I was like, I said, dude, maybe you were hearing things. Maybe it was the pipes, you heard whatever. He's like, Dad, he said, somebody was knocking on that. And right as he said that, I heard on the door, and we all like looked around. I ran over the door, looked through the peephole, nobody there, opened the door real quick, nobody on either end of the hallway. And so that was my strange experience there, but it leads me to another one that this little boy had there years before that. He and his mom and dad were on a tour of the hotel, and he, as typical 5-6-year-olds do, went off on his own and got lost. Well, as he got lost, he made it back to his room, and his mom and dad said, how'd you find the room? And he said, well, this old cowboy helped me. Right. So as they were checking out a day or two later, he pointed up at a picture and said, that's the cowboy that helped me get back to the room. And they looked, and it was a picture of Seth Bullock in his Stetson. And so he's like DA said, he's been known to have a benevolent spirit. And I guess seeing a young child in need, he always had a kind of a soft spot for kids anyway. So wanted to make sure the little youngster found his way back to his room.
He's still overseeing the hotel that bears his name.
Correct.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really cool little story.
That is a cool little story, especially when the kid just points him straight out.
Just
so, folks, if you're gonna be in Deadwood, if you want to stay at the Bullock Hotel, if you're into the spiritual or the ghosty aspect of it, make sure you request room 211. Room 211 is where Seth died, and people that stay in it today, even today, still say that they feel his presence in the room.
Yep. There's a broken clock in the parlor that still chimes from time to time as well. And that's an announcement of a special guest in the room.
Some of the phenomenon that have been reported in the hotel, people have reported their alarm clocks going off by themselves, televisions turning on even when they're unplugged, antique clocks chiming despite being broken. That's one Doc was mentioning, and cold spots along with the feeling of being watched.
Well, cold spots is something that usually goes along with that type of stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Drops in temperature. It's kind of a big thing, and yeah, I've had that actually happen. Angie and I witnessed that over in Scotland. I had an EMF detector in my hand. I said, if you're here, make this light turn green, or turn red, and it freaking pegged out, and it felt like I stuck my hand in a walk-in freezer. My arm from my elbow down was cold as ice, and she even felt that. So it was pretty creepy, man. I ain't gonna lie.
I bet.
Yeah.
It seems like at the Bullock, though, the majority of the stuff reported is on the second and third floors. Guests frequently report footsteps, phantom touches, and shadowy figures in their rooms.
Huh.
That sounds like a great place to visit.
Dude, it was cool. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't have anything touch me, thankfully.
Not there anyway.
Not there.
Yeah, not touched him in his no
Correct.
Robbie, since you're the one that isn't as into this subject as me and Doc, how about you just read the story? The sheriff still walks.
All right, let me pull it up here. Sheriff still walks. Bullock Hotel, Deadwood, South Dakota, a town built on gold, grit, and gunfire. The streets once echoed the boots of lawmen and outlaws alike, and in the heart of the town stands the Bullock Hotel, an elegant sandstone building that has been seen more than a century of history. But some say its most famous resident never checked out. Seth Bullock, Deadwood's first sheriff, a man whose steely gaze could silence a saloon brawl. He built the hotel in 1895, a monument to order in the town of chaos. And though he died in 1919, guests swear his spirit still patrols the halls. Room 211, as DA was talking about earlier, a guest wakes in the dead of the night. The air grows cold. The chandelier sways, though there's no wind in the room. Footsteps echo in the hallway. Then he appears. Tall, broad-shouldered, eyes like steel, Seth Bullock himself standing in the doorway. He says nothing. He only watches, a silent sentinel, ensuring order even in his death. Staff claim that he appears when they slack off, as if reminding them to keep the hotel running properly. Guests report televisions turning on by themselves, broken clocks chiming, and the unmistakable sensation of being judged by a lawman long gone. The Bullock Hotel is more than a relic of the Old West. It's a place where history refuses to die, where a sheriff's duty outlived his mortal body, and where, if you listen closely, you may still hear the boots of Seth Bullock walking his eternal beat.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And for those of you who are history buffs, I'm gonna say, man, and I know Robbie and DA both are history buffs. It is a cool town, lots of history there, and even though the number 10 saloon is not in the same spot, the other original one burned down, but the Bullock Hotel's in its same spot and has been there continuously since 1894. So
That's a long time.
that's a long freaking time for that. And they built it out of brick. That's why, because everything else, burned down. It was made of wood. So yeah, it's a freaking cool, beautiful hotel. Beautiful hotel.
And it's one of those places I'd definitely like to visit.
Yeah, I would love to take Angie because Angie loves it and she's seen the show and everything. And as gritty as the show was, she's like, yeah, I'd like to go see it. It's got some cool history. Plus, you're not far from Mount Rushmore, so
That's always a plus.
Always a plus. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful drive.
So, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the Deadwood, South Dakota, and the Bullock Hotel? Is that someplace you guys would like to visit, or you guys would prefer to deal, as someone once, as Arlen said, I believe it was, that he'd rather deal with cryptids and ghosts?
What do y'all think, chat? What would y'all like to go see? Maybe see Seth, because they said he could stare down a cobra. he had a pretty mean gaze, pretty intimidating.
Had that gunfighter glare.
That was the word on the street, man. And they said he could stare down a cobra. Had a big old black soup strainer mustache and didn't brook any fools.
That sounds remarkably like someone else. Actually, several somebodies.
I was going to say a couple of folks, man. Wow.
Hey, thank you for the super chat, Sentinel. Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Sentinel
that.
in the house.
Holy smokes, man.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Sentinel. Dang.
That is awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Curtis Murray said, I'd love to visit Deadwood and Tombstone. Man, if you get the chance, do it. I mean, it's history, and one of these days we're going to be gone. It's going to be gone, and it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Brenda Sinning says, y'all come visit us here in South Dakota sometime. We'd love to. I'd love to come up there. There's a lot of places up there I'd like to go. I'd like to go to the Crazy Horse Monument. I'd like to go to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
I'd like to see all of that stuff.
Well, if the show continues to grow and do good, then who knows what can happen.
Yeah. That would be a great place to do a show from. I mean, because not only is we've got the incidences there that have been very well documented over many, many years at the Bullock, but you also have quite a few cryptid sightings in the Black Hills as well.
That's true.
So that area is rife with cryptid sightings. So yeah.
Heck yeah.
Angela Monroe said, "I'll take my chances with a ghost. I'll take my chances with a ghost. I don't think a ghost is going to eat me." I agree with that.
I don't know. It depends on the ghost, I guess. Because we were just discussing this before the show. There are more than one type of haunting. There's the residual haunting, like you get at Gettysburg. You've got the intelligent hauntings, which I think the Bullock ghost is, and then you've got some that are just inexplicably violent, and I think those are more demonic than ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think Robbie's got a good theory on that one too.
Yeah, I think anything like that where there's violence and the people talking about feeling like they're getting possessed or being taken out, that in my opinion that's all demonic. That's
well, and I'm gonna piggyback on that, Robbie. So let's think about this. So especially if somebody died in a violent manner, I believe that could open up a portal. And I'm not getting on the freaking woo train. Y'all know what I'm saying here. That could open up a door for something evil to come in, because let's look at some of these people who have experienced these types of hauntings, but it turned out it was something definitely more sinister, especially when you see them getting scratched, and it always is. And when you got some kind of physical involvement, I really and Robbie, tell me what you think, man. I really believe that's demonic in nature.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
In Tombstone, there's the ghost they call the Swamper that's been known to shove people downstairs.
Is that Big Nose Kate's?
I think it is. Yeah. We'll actually get to that, but
Yeah.
it is typically kind of violent. It will shove people down the stairs.
I do believe that there's energy. We're made of energy. You know, you think about it. They've weighed bodies as somebody dies, and it gets 0.1 or 0.2 pounds lighter. You know what I mean? After somebody dies. And so, that's an energy thing. And, you know, one of the laws of physics is energy always is there. It just changes forms. You know, I'm paraphrasing.
I've got a crazy theory about that just kind of came to me the other day. And this is completely off subject from our ghost, but what if what we perceive as good and evil is just the conscious and subconscious mind battling for supremacy?
Could be. I mean, I wouldn't say that's beyond the realm of possibility, man. I mean, your subconscious mind. How much have we learned about the subconscious mind? Not nearly as much as we need to.
Because your subconscious does not have the inhibitions that your conscious has. I think the subconscious brain becoming dominant is where you get like serial killers and mass murderers.
Well, that's no different than everybody has the potential. It's like when we talk about, you know, there's three types of people. There's the wolves, there's the sheep, and then there's sheepdogs. Sheepdog is a perfect example of that because we are the ones that we have the potential to do things that most normal people don't want to do, but we choose not to, other than in defense of those who can't protect themselves. Whereas the wolves are the ones who like doing stuff like that. So I think that's a very good analogy, DA, because I think everybody has that struggle, you know, because if they didn't, then there wouldn't be no such thing as free will.
Right.
If you didn't have to make the choice between doing what's right or doing what's wrong, then what are we? You know,
I was reading an article the other day that said that it's actually a small percentage of people that have an internal monologue. That you actually hear voices, hear your voice in your head when you think about things. I said not everybody does that, and it struck me as so bizarre how someone would live like that. Because to me, it's just a natural part of my own inner workings. I mean, that's how I hash things out. That's how I write.
Dude, I was having a conversation myself today, and as I open the door up, there's Angie, and she's like, I hope I don't need to go take you to the doctor. You know, we joke about that stuff because she's like, dude, not only do I have an internal monologue, I got a jazz band. I got the history report from the 8th grade that I screwed up on. I got my memo list going on up here that I got to remember to do my wash. And so, yeah, it would be a very quiet place if my head didn't have that stuff.
One of the reasons that I find it so hard for me to actually rest when I sleep is my brain's like a browser with 27 tabs open. All of them looking up different shit at the same time.
And it always wants to look it up at like 2 or 3 in the morning when you're trying to get some freaking sleep, man. You wake up, you wake up and go to the bathroom. You come back and lay down in the bed. And your mind's like, oh yeah, about this. And you're like, man, you know.
Mitch Hedberg, what he used to say about when he was in the hotel room trying to sleep, and he'd think of a funny joke, but his pencil and pen was across the room, and he'd have to try to lay there and convince himself that it wasn't really that funny of a joke, so he didn't have to get up and go get the pen and pencil and write it down.
I woke up the other morning with the panic thought in my head that I hadn't gotten the laundry out of the dryer because my mother had asked me to get the laundry out of the dryer, and I'd forgotten to do it. And I panicked. I was like, oh, crap. I woke up, and I'm like, wait a minute, dumbass. That was 1982.
You're a little bit older now.
She's been gone since 82. I don't think it's not critical anymore.
It's funny, and what Robbie just said about the writing it down. Man, I have laid there and like, man, I can't forget this. I can't forget this. I can't forget this. And sure as shooting, man, next morning when you wake up, if you don't write it down or put it on your phone in a memo, it's going to be gone like a fart in the wind. And
damn right.
And I have literally sat there and tortured myself for over half an hour at least. And I'm like, damn it, I'm not getting any sleep tonight. So I'll get up and get my notepad and write it down, or get my phone and do a memo, because then I can actually try
I sleep with a little notebook next to my bed with a pen in it.
You're smarter
to
than
write
most
down.
of us, man.
Well, before we derail this much farther,
Yeah.
let's stop at our next destination on our haunted Old West whirlwind tour. And this trip is going to take us a little farther south than Deadwood, South Carolina. I keep doing that, South Dakota. It's going to take us to a little town called Bisbee, Arizona, the Copper Queen Hotel. The Copper Queen was built in 1902. It was created to cater to a mining boom town. The town had discovered what was it, silver?
Yeah,
I believe it was a silver town.
Well,
And
yeah,
it became a boom town overnight. Its most famous ghost is a young woman named Julia Lowell, a prostitute who fell in love with a client. When her love was rejected, she took her own life in the hotel. Today, guests report her spirit lingering on the second and third floors, often accompanied by the scent of perfume or the sound of whispering. If I heard whispering and I was alone in a hotel hallway, I think I'd probably be like checking out.
No.
But the Copper Queen Hotel in Bisbee is the state's longest continually operating hotel. It's been running since 1902. And, maybe one of its most famous guests has never checked out. It was constructed into the mountainside with 2-foot thick walls to keep rooms cool in the desert heat. It's known for its Victorian architecture and elegance, and it quickly became a symbol of prosperity in that little mining town. So, Doc, did you say you've been to Bisbee?
Yeah, been to Bisbee. Angie and I went to Bisbee. We actually went in there. Didn't stay there. We were staying in Tombstone and drove down to Bisbee for a little day trip. It's only like
so it's pretty close to Tombstone.
20 minutes or so. Yeah, super close. It's a little further south. Beautiful little town, old town. A lot of great architecture. That hotel is absolutely gorgeous. But again, we didn't stay there. But I think now we may have to next time we go down.
Well, there's 3 significant hauntings reported. Do you want to break those down for us, or Robbie? Do you want to break them down? They're in the notes.
I'll start out with the.
Well, there's 3 of them. Let's do one each.
All right, cool. Well, let's start out with Julia. Julia Lowell, also known as the Tragic Woman, as DA just alluded to, she was the prostitute, also known back in the 1800s as a soiled dove. Now, she was in her 30s, and if you're a prostitute in your 30s in the Old West, not too much life left in you. And unfortunately, so many prostitutes back in the day fell to different maladies, different diseases, and also to their own selves, their own torture, which was laudanum or alcohol, or unfortunately, they ended up and ended their lives just like she did. Now, whenever she fell in love with one of the guests, he rejected her. She took her own life there, which kind of imprinted her own energy there. One of the big things that she does is she whispers in men's ears. There's no reports of her whispering in ladies' ears, but on the second and third floors, especially, they are reports of her whispering in men's ears. And also, while people are sleeping in bed, light touches, what are known as phantom touches on the feet. Now, I'm gonna tell you what: if Angie's sitting there, laying there next to me, and I feel somebody tickling on my tootsies while I'm sleeping, that could end very noisily. That's quite the.
There's gonna be some new bullet holes in those walls.
There's gonna be some new holes in that place, man. And then there's also been apparitions of Miss Julia dancing provocatively at the foot of the stairs on the first floor. And there's actually, they have not specified which room she took her life in, but there is actually a room named the Julia Lowell room in her memory, which I think is pretty cool. Roxanne says, "What does she whisper?" That is, I have no idea. From her lips to God's ears, I don't know.
Of the 3 of us, if anybody's going to find out, it's going to be Doc. So if we take Doc down there, he's going to get the one getting sweet nothings whispered in his ear.
I did have the ghost of a deceased soiled dove in Tombstone say I was pretty, and ended up I felt some weird phantom touches on my posterior during
His gluteus maximus.
during the
Let's see,
session.
I'm not directly in the buttocks.
You know, I got groped by a ghost. So, which was pretty interesting. So, yeah. So, Miss Julia, it's a tragic story, it really is, because she fell in love with this guy, and in her 30s, she knew that's near the end, and there's nothing really much else she could do with her life at that point. Sadly, in those days, if you look at the history of it, and when she was rejected, she felt like she had no recourse but to take her own life. So it is a very tragic tale, So it's so Miss Julia Lowell. So if you ever go there, you want to stay in the Julia Lowell room. I don't know if you can request it or not, but check it out. And there's another visitor there, and we'll start with either Robbie or DA on this one.
Well, Julia is the most famous of the three.
Yes.
So there's a lot more known about that. Robbie, do you want to tell us about the second one?
The Bearded Gentleman. Not me. Maybe one of them two, but not me.
Don't call me a gentleman.
You
Don't
call
insult
it
me.
gentleman.
Well, I knew I wasn't, so I knew they wasn't talking about me.
You take that back.
An older man with long hair. Well, that definitely puts me out of the running. Doc, it's got to be you. You got the longest hair of the three of us. An older gentleman with long hair and a beard and a top hat and a black cape is often seen on the fourth floor.
When I hear black top hat and a cape, why do I think?
Or his presence is accompanied by the smell of cigar smoke.
It is Doc.
Yeah, see, I told you, Doc. He appears in doorways or as a shadow drifting through rooms. It's Count Docula.
That's it.
I wish we could, and if I go back down there, or when I go back down there, maybe Angie and I will stop in, maybe stay there. I'll ask them some of this stuff and see if maybe I can get some good firsthand background info.
And that'd be great, because if you can do that, we'll just do a whole show on that location.
Yeah, that'd be pretty freaking cool, man.
If any of us can visit any of these locations, it'd be great to do a whole show just on that.
And those of you in the chat, if y'all go down there and you talk to folks and you get these firsthand information from these folks, it may be secondhand, but you're getting information from the source. Let DA know. Shoot him an email to info@daroberts.net and get some and give him your information and say, hey, I went to this hotel, or there you go, daroberts@daroberts.net. I went to this hotel, had some good information based on the show that we did, and we'd love to hear from y'all. We'd love to hear from your
absolutely
Old West.
If you've had an experience in any of these locations or anywhere else for that matter.
Absolutely. That just makes it more interesting for all of us.
Oh, definitely. The third haunting is known as the Little Boy. He's believed to be the child of one of the hotel workers who drowned in the nearby San Pedro River. Guest reports objects moving around the rooms, footsteps and giggling in empty hallways, and his spirit is heard more often than he's seen. They feel the presence of a child, but it's rarely seen.
That's so sad.
It's kind of sad.
It really is, especially the death of a child. And typically, and not typically, but a lot of times, y'all know this. I mean, you'll anytime there's been a death of a child, especially as tragic as that is, there will be some accompanying activity there with that. So,
well, for a kind of a summary of the paranormal activity there, guests have described phantom voices, footsteps, and laughter echoing through the halls. Mattress indentations. People walk in and it looks like there's somebody laying on the bed, and then it'll just get up and leave. Electronics malfunction. Lights will flicker. TVs change channels, and alarm clocks go off at random intervals. Paranormal investigators and hotel staff, including the owner's family, have reported seeing these spirits firsthand. So there's still ongoing, continuous activity. A lot of it seems like intelligent. Some of it may just be residual, but I think some of it is very intelligent. And that brings us to the story from there. This story is called Julia's Dance. In Bisbee, Arizona, a mining town carved into the mountainside, once booming with copper wealth. They were a copper mining town, not silver.
Copper.
At its heart stands the Copper Queen Hotel. The Copper Queen should have gave it away. Copper Queen Hotel.
The Copper Queen. Are they
yeah, it ain't the Silver Queen. It's the Copper Queen.
What we call a clue.
A clue.
A clue.
At its heart stands the Copper Queen Hotel, built in 1902 to host dignitaries and investors. Its walls are 2 feet thick, designed to keep out the desert heat. But what they could not keep out was sorrow. Guests speak of Julia Lowell, a young woman in her 30s who worked here as a prostitute. She fell in love with a client. When he rejected her, despair consumed her. Julia took her own life within these walls, and yet she never left. Men staying on the second and third floors report whispers in their ears, phantom touches on their feet, and the apparition of Julia herself dancing provocatively at the foot of the stairs, her eyes filled with longing. The hotel even named a room after her, the Julia Lowell room. But Julia isn't alone. A bearded gentleman in a black cape and a top hat haunts the 4th floor, his presence marked by the smell of cigar smoke, and the spirit of a little boy believed to have drowned nearby plays tricks on guests, moving objects, giggling in empty hallways, and leaving footsteps where none should be. Electronics malfunction, lights flicker, mattresses sink as if someone invisible lies down beside you. The Copper Queen is alive with the echoes of the past, its spirits replaying their stories night after night. The Copper Queen Hotel is more than a historic landmark. It's a stage where Julia dances eternally, where cigar smoke curls from unseen lips, and where a child's laughter drifts through the halls. If you spend the night here, you just might find yourself sharing the room with the ghosts of Bisbee.
I like that. I gotta visit that place.
But you've been there, but you
I
didn't realize it was haunted as it was.
Well, apparently, if you look at do your Google Foo, there's this website and it's talking about the Copper Queen Hotel. It says Julia Lowell was heartbroken and took her own life by hanging herself. Here we go. This is the question. Room 315.
Wonder if that's the Julia Lowell room.
That's what they say is named after her. So now we know that.
And if you're going to stay at the Copper Queen, if you're interested in this sort of thing, room 315 is the room for you.
That is correct.
I'm telling you, if I'm laying in bed and I see an imprint of someone lay down next to me, yeah, it's going to be exit stage left.
That happened at Angie's. When Angie's living in her aunt's house that she took care of. Imprint in the bed. Felt like somebody sat down right there. Bloop.
I'm out. Just see a profile. It's like a cartoon. You just see a cutout shape of Doc in the door.
Robbie, what time is it?
Oh, about 1/2 time to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Holy smokes. That'd make you wish you wore your brown PJs that night.
No kidding. They're going to be changing them sheets, that's for sure.
I'd probably roll over. Would you be still? I'm trying to sleep. And go back to sleep.
I need linen service. It's 2:00 in the morning. Well, tell it to Julia. Sorry. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Who? All right. That's a good one. Copper Queen Hotel. What treats do we have up next? We're what 20 minutes till the halfway point. So
I think we got time for another one. And next, well, we got 10 minutes until
10.
About 15 until we got to stop.
Okay.
Because we stop at 5 till to do the
one of them three numbers is right.
Yeah, 5 till. The number is 5 till. So we got 15 minutes.
Okay, I could.
Robbie, do you want to start us on our next destination?
The Bodie Ghost Town in California. Once a thriving gold mining town, Bodie is now preserved in a state of arrested decay. Local legends warn that anyone who removes even a pebble from Bodie is cursed until the item is returned.
Nope.
Rangers regularly receive packages from visitors mailing back stolen relics, hoping to lift the curse. The town's eerie silence and weathered buildings add to its haunted reputation. Bodie Ghost Town in California is one of the most famous haunted frontier towns, with legends of curses, restless spirits, and eerie paranormal activity tied to its violent gold rush past. So, what if you was walking and a rock gets stuck in your boot?
That you didn't take that. That's not intentional.
Okay, so it's got to be an intentional thing. Like, you
Yeah,
gotta,
if it says if you take it, and if it stuck to your boot, I can't see how they'd hold you responsible for that.
I would be shaking myself down. So
Yeah, I'd be checking my boots at the edge
Right.
of town. Like, I'm going to get a stick.
I'd be sitting there
Make
with,
sure
with
I
a
ain't even taking
toothpick,
dirt.
you know, tires in my car. Y'all gonna be clean before we leave.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, are they that technical or?
Yeah, I know, right? But I have heard that though. Both y'all have heard that if you take an object from a place that has bad energy, you take that bad energy with you, son.
Well, looking at the history of Bodie, there may be a Dark Frontiers book set in Bodie at some point in the future.
It sounds like it could be.
It's founded after gold was discovered in 1859 by prospector W.S. Bodie, who tragically died in a blizzard before seeing the town's rise.
Oh,
By 1879, Bodie had nearly 10,000 residents and was considered California's third largest city. It was a true Wild West boomtown with 65 saloons, gambling halls, brothels, and daily shootouts. Violence was rampant, murders, robberies, and barroom brawls were common, and by the early 20th century, Bodie was in decline, eventually becoming a ghost town. Today, it's preserved as California's State Historic Park.
I gotta go visit there.
Yeah, it sounds like a definite need to go. Doc, you want to start telling us about some of the hauntings?
Well, absolutely, man. So let's talk about the Bodie curse. This is the one that we alluded to earlier when we were talking about it. Is that the local legend warning that anyone who removes artifacts or even something as small as a pebble from Bodie will be cursed until the items are returned. And DA had mentioned that park rangers regularly receive packages from visitors mailing back the stolen relics, often accompanied by letters, probably letters of apology. I'm so sorry, please leave me alone, describing streaks of bad luck. So that's one of them. Now the other thing they're talk about is the restless spirits that are observed there with the violent past that it had. It's to be expected. There's going to be something going on there. So people report strange noises and unexplained shadows and ghostly figures wandering around the streets, and even people peering from these abandoned buildings because, as Robbie said, it's in a state of arrested decay. There's paranormal investigators that claim the Bodie's filled with cold spots, phantom footsteps, voices that empty through the echo through the empty saloons there. Now, with 65 saloons, there's no shortage of violent encounter history. And then you go into Miss Rosa May. She was known as the hooker with the heart of gold. She was a prostitute who cared for sick miners during an epidemic, that therefore saving many lives. But despite her compassion, she was buried outside the cemetery fence due to her profession, because that's hallowed ground, and someone that was a soul dove was not allowed to be buried on hallowed ground, which, that's neither here nor there, but it is what it is. And her, as a result, her spirit is said to linger near the cemetery, appearing as a protective presence. Now, there's also these two places, but the cemetery that she guards, but also the mortuary where all these bodies were preserved and prepared for burial. And it's a red brick mortuary, the only building of its kind in town. So everything else is out of wood, and that's red brick. So they report that there are apparitions among the graves and a very heavy, tense, oppressive atmosphere. So those are some of the things that we're talking about with Bodie. And then there's even this thing called the Curse of Bodie. You want me to read that?
Well, sure, why not?
I will.
Go for it.
So we get into what is called the Curse of Bodie. And so it says, high in the Sierra Nevada lies Bodie, California. Once a booming gold mining town, it was a home to nearly 10,000 souls in the late 1800s. 65 saloons lined its streets. Gunfights, robberies, murder, and vice were daily affairs. Bodie was a town of greed and violence and fleeting fortune. And though the mines collapsed and the people left, Bodie never truly died. In its state of arrested decay, its weathered buildings stand silent, its streets empty. But visitors say the town is far from lifeless. They speak of shadows and windows, phantom footsteps, and voices whispering through the wind. And then there's the curse. Legend warns that anyone who takes even something as small as a pebble from Bodie will be cursed, and bad luck follows them until the item is returned, according to park rangers who receive packages from across the world with stones and nails and trinkets mailed back with letters describing accidents and illness and misfortune from the unfortunate souls who took them. The spirits of Bodie guard their town, fiercely punishing greed even beyond the grave, but not all spirits are vengeful. Let's look at Miss Rosa May, the prostitute who cared for sick miners during an epidemic. And even though she's buried outside the cemetery, her spirit is said to linger protectively, watching over visitors who wander too close to the graves. Other reports of apparitions drifting through the cemetery, lights glowing along among the headstones, and the oppressive silence of the town that refuses to rest. It's more than a ghost town. Bodie is a warning etched into wood and stone, a place where greed built a city, violence destroyed it, and spirits remain to guard its memory. If you walk its streets at dusk, listen closely. You may hear the laughter of gamblers, the cries of the dying, and the whisper of Bodie's curse, reminding you to never take what is not yours. I like that.
That sounds like a perfect location for a book.
Dude, that place is just sitting there going, right about me, right about me.
Yeah, that's begging for it.
That's freaking cool, man.
How about this? Dark Frontiers, The Legend of Bodie's Curse.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
That's going to have to become a Dark Frontiers novel at some point in the near future.
And it's got such a good history, man, with all the saloons. And I mean, and I guarantee if you research the history, there's probably been quite a few of the Old West notables.
Well, it's in the Sierra Nevadas, which is also loaded with cryptid sightings.
Exactly. Yep. So there you go.
Because it's about time for the boys to go back to the beginning,
back to the Old West.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, when I started doing the Dark Frontiers book, I thought, I'm just going to do these chronologically and just keep it from the timeline. But then I got to thinking, oh, wait a minute, how I'm telling these stories is it's Clark and Gideon finding those journals. I said, there's no guarantee any of those journals are going to be found in order.
Man, the potential, there's so much room for activities, Robbie. So much room.
I've already got plans for them to meet Sam Clemens. That's got to happen. I mean, that's a Missouri icon, and it starts in Springfield, Missouri, so they got to meet Sam Clemens. There's tie-ins we've talked about, both historical and movie-wise, where Declan rode with Quantrill's Raiders, and a certain character named Rooster Cogburn is known to have rode with Quantrill's Raiders. So that means, at least in some version of canon, Declan Kane knows Rooster Cogburn, which I think is a really cool tie-in. Although I might get in trouble for calling him Rooster Cogburn, I might just say my old friend Rooster.
And Josie.
And Josie Wales. Josie Wales rode with Quantrill's Raiders.
Sure did. Yeah, Lima, Mike Foxtrot, and Margolin takes a pebble. Hence 2 books. I like it.
Margolin would be trying to bang the hooker with the heart of gold.
He would. He would.
Do you think we could use a Ouija board to get it on? Margolin, shut up.
Oh Lord. Yes, sir.
5 minutes, DA.
Okay. You got 4 minutes until we gotta take a pause for the cause. But yeah, I've got plans for the Wild Hunt, not Wild Hunt, the Nightmare Hunter boys to meet up with Teddy Roosevelt because I've already mentioned they know him. There's Sam Clemens. There's a lot of historical figures, and even in the newest one, Devil of the Absarokas, I mentioned that the Nightmare Hunter clan was at the very first Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show.
And Arlen, Billy's already made his appearance.
Yeah, a couple of times actually.
And also, Wild Bill acted in the Wild Bill's, Buffalo Bill's Wild West show.
Yep.
And so did some of the Native American chiefs too.
That's right.
Didn't Sitting Bull didn't he? Or was it?
I think for a while, yeah, I believe so. So we've got a lot of potential there,
and it's already been said that we know Wyatt Earp and the Earp brothers, and a certain somebody was already that famous pistolier wordsmith known as Doc Holliday. So they're already in the shootout.
Yeah, so we got tie-ins for that. There's a lot of Old West tie-ins,
and the possibilities are literally endless with as much story as the stories are out there. I mean, you ain't talking about John Wesley Hardin, all those cats. I mean,
Bat Masterson,
what
what happened in Dodge City, plus what happened in Coffeyville, Kansas.
Yeah, Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid,
the Dalton gang,
gang.
But then, think about now the European tie-ins we got, because we've already established that they were in World War II. Well, we know Ramsey was, so we got plenty of tie-ins where we, with World War I and World War II.
You could bring up who was the dude from Tennessee in World War I?
Gary Cooper, Sergeant York.
Sergeant York, Alvin York, and then you got World War II. You got Audie Murphy. You got the boys from Easy Company. My Lord, man. All kind. Yeah. Jesse and Frank James. You'll if you read the Dark Frontiers, you'll.
Yeah. They're already a pretty big part of the Dark Frontiers.
We're not going to get that. I preached to them a little bit. So.
We ain't seen the end of Frank and Jesse. Because if you guys remember from Demon Apollodoro, they were still around. They didn't die at the end of that book. So guess who takes care of the ranch while the boys are out hunting?
Man.
We got about a minute until we've got to pay some bills. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and take a quick pause. Folks, if you need to refill your cup of coffee or whatever it is you're drinking tonight, be a good chance to run and make a quick fill up while we pay some quick bills. And we will be right back, and we will be stopping at our next stop along the paranormal highway of the Old West. And we will see you guys in just a few minutes. Race, take her away, sir.
The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to Research a Haunted House can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unxmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unxmedia.com or amazon.com.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DA Ex Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical. in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
The Unx Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full-spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unx Network website at unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
All right, all you nightmare hunters out there, we are back. And our next stop along the ghostly trail of the Old West lands us in a little town called Cimarron, New Mexico. Doc has recently been there. I lived a few miles from this place when I was a kid. Well, I wouldn't say a few miles. It was an hour or so drive, but I lived fairly close to this, and we went to this many times. It is called the Old St. James Hotel. And Doc, since you've been there more recently than I have. Why don't you take us on this little stop along the historical route? And I'll when Doc's done, I'll tell you guys the story on how Cimarron Canyon and the town of Cimarron got its name.
I would be honored. Thank you, sir. No, seriously, thank you for that. So the St. James Hotel in Cimarron, I learned about this through reading some stories about it, and I asked DA about it. He's like, yeah, man. He said, I've been there many times.
Louis L'Amour once stayed there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a tiny little hotel, tiny little town. If you blink, you're going to miss it. But it has a lot of history in the Old West if you delve into it. As far back as Jesse James was there. Me and Angie stayed in the Jesse James room. Guess who he met there? Billy the Kid. He was trying to recruit Billy the Kid for a new gang. Who knew? Right? So it's got a lot of Old West history. Bat Masterson, Doc Holliday, Morgan Earp, Wyatt Earp, they have all traveled through there, and they stayed in the St. James, and they went across the street. They stayed they stayed there, but they went to the depot. They stepped out of the depot, which is now a mercantile and a cafe there. So it's very fascinating to know that you stepped in the same doorways that these folks have stepped through, these notables. So it's a hub for these frontier legends. Buffalo Bill Cody even was there. So here's one of the big things that it is very active because there are more than 26 reported murders having occurred there. One of them being the owner of the hotel. So leaving behind some restless guests. So there's a lot of reported phantom gunshots, apparitions of cowboys, because it was a big cattle drive town on the way down to Las Vegas, New Mexico, all the way back up to Kansas. And so guests have reported all that. And room 18, I didn't stay in that one, is said to be so haunted that it is kept locked and unavailable to guests. And it's got a big velvet rope across it, and you can't even go in there. The history of the place, it was built in 1872 by Henry Lambert. He was a chef who cooked for President Lincoln back in the day. Now, it started out just as a saloon before it expanded the full establishment. And the saloon is still there. The restaurant is still there. You can eat there only on certain nights of the week. So plan accordingly if you're in that area. And it quickly became a hub for outlaws and lawmen and frontier legends of the people I had spoken about. John Wesley Hardin actually allegedly killed a guy there too. There's
Jack Ketchum stayed there.
Blackjack Ketchum, and there are bullet holes still visible in the ceiling in the saloon. I seen it, and so it's pretty amazing. At least 26 men, like I said, were there, though some historians believe the true number was much higher. So very, very cool old hotel, still there to this day. If you do stay there, you can stay in the historic rooms, which book up pretty quickly, or you can stay in the annex. There's a new annex. They have a courtyard across the way that have more modern rooms. Honestly, if you don't want to stay, if you want to stay in the old area, that's cool. I would recommend staying in the annex because the beds that are there, man, Angie's 5'1", I'm 5'6", and you got to have a freaking step ladder to get in it and a freaking parachute to get out of that freaking bed in the middle of the night. Those beds are very tall, very hard, and extremely narrow. Now, we're not big people, but there was no elbow room. That's all I got to say. So, cool hotel.
Nick Boris says, "Hey, Doc, have you eaten there, and was the food good?"
That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, the night we stayed there, I want to say we stayed there on Wednesday night before we headed down to Tombstone the next morning on Thursday. And I believe they're closed on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, as freaking luck would have it. So that's the thing about it. I've heard it's really good food. Angie and I've actually talked about, it's only 3.5 hours from the house. So we've actually talked about going down there for a long weekend and just spending the night there, having dinner.
You could do a long weekend, 2 nights at the Eklund, 2 nights at the St. James.
Yeah, and we'd actually talked about doing that. And because the Eklund still serves excellent food, and from everything I've heard, the food there is top notch. And the saloon is absolutely awesome. I mean, like John Wesley Hardin killed a dude there, and
John Wesley Hardin killed someone? No.
Yeah, I know, right? He killed a dude there. The saloon keeper was upstairs, heard the gunshots, came downstairs. The saloon was completely pitch black. Everybody had skedaddled. Nobody was around. So he's like, all right, whatever. He went back upstairs. The next morning, he was opening up, sweeping everything up, and found the dude dead over in the corner. so yeah, pretty cool.
He laid there for hours.
Yeah, he was pretty stiff by the got there. He was a stiff, but yeah. Cool old hotel, man, and there's a lot of famous hauntings going on there.
Robbie, do you want to do the story or do you want to do the famous hauntings?
Whatever you want me to do. Doc just keeps rolling. It's hard for me to keep up where we're at.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm ad-libbing.
No, that's fine. I don't know, because I read it. You know the stuff, so you just talk, and it's hard to keep up with where it is in the.
Doc's better at improv than either of us.
That's true.
I have got down to the famous hauntings area.
So would that be perfume and gunfire?
No, before that.
No, before that. Famous hauntings.
Okay, famous hauntings. Number 1, Mary Lambert or Mary Lambert, room 17. Mary and Henry Lambert, or Henri Lambert, his first wife, died mysteriously October 1881 in room 17. Guests report overpowering scent of rose perfume suddenly filling the air. Phantom knocks on the window if it's left open. Seemed like they'd knock if it was closed versus knocking if it was open. Anyway, gentle caresses on the skin by unseen hands. Doc's favorite. Apparitions of Mary hovering near the bed.
Bowers would like to stay there, I'm sure. So, for reading the chat.
You want me to keep going, DA?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do all of them.
Room 18, the locked room. And I think this is the one you're talking about with the velvet rope across it.
Yep.
This room is so haunted that the hotel keeps it permanently locked. Legend says a particularly violent spirit resides in there, possibly tied to one of the many murders. Guests and staff report angry energy, cold spots, and violent poltergeist activity near the door. Second floor activity.
I wonder if we went down there with a film crew, if they'd let us in.
I don't know. I mean, the girl that we talked to at the front desk said there was some freaky crap happening at that hotel. So I do not know.
I wonder if we called ahead and said, hey, we're the Nightmare Hunters podcast. We'd like to come down and film some footage in room number 18.
They could.
They might.
we could always. I mean, the answer is
The
always
worst they could say is no.
Yeah, I was about to say all they can do is say no,
yeah.
and they may say yes.
They might.
Second floor activity. Paranormal investigators and guests often encounter cold spots in the hallways, lingering cigar smoke when no one is smoking, shadowy figures drifting across the rooms.
That's kind of creepy.
We have a sighting.
Oh, he's got his little hat on too. In the spirit of the old West tonight, Little Doc's got his cowboy hat on.
What's up, little fella? I figured everybody'd like to see Doc in a cowboy hat with his little bandana.
You've heard of Long John Silver's? That's Long Doc Davis.
He's ready to roll. He's ready. Nightmare
Got his
Hunters.
little bandana on.
Let's ride. He ain't spoiled at all, y'all.
No, not in the slightest.
He's like, give me my mama back.
Yes, I'm done with you.
All right. I have.
Doc, what's that, Robbie?
I was going to say, all right. I have seen my people, my patronage.
Exactly.
My adoring fans have had their glimpse. Doc, you want to tell us the story?
Man, yeah, I'd love to. It's the title of this little tale is called Perfume and Gunfire. Cimarron, New Mexico. The St. James Hotel was built in 1872 by Henri Lambert, a chef who once cooked for President Lincoln. But here on the frontier, his elegant hotel became a magnet for legends such as Jesse James, Buffalo Bill Cody, Billy the Kid, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, all of whom passed through its doors. And with them came violence. More than 26 men were killed inside these walls, and the bullet holes in the ceiling remain there as proof. However, the dead did not leave. Their spirits are lingering on, and none more famously than Mary Lambert, Henri's, I'm going to say Henry, I don't parlez-vous the Francais, Henry's first wife, who died mysteriously in room 17. Now, guests who stay in her room report the sudden overpowering scent of roses, phantom knocking that rattled the windows if it's left open, and sometimes a gentle caress brushes their cheek. Which cheek that is, that's left for the imagination of the reader.
Well, depends on whether you're sleeping with your butt in the air, I guess.
That's true.
You got four to choose from.
Could be multiple cheeks. Who knows? It could be a cheeky evening. One traveler awoke to see Mary herself, an apparition shimmering in the moonlight, hovering near the bed, sorrowful yet tender. But not all spirits are kind, as such as the tale of room 18, which is so haunted. The hotel keeps it locked. Staff say that an angry energy radiates from behind its door. Guests who linger nearby feel cold spots and hear phantom footsteps, and sometimes violent knocks shake the walls. And this is off topic, is off the story, but I'm going to tell you this. I just looked on my phone. The picture I took of room 18 is no longer on my phone, and I did not delete it. So, shadowy figures.
Okay, that's freaky.
I took a picture of the doorway with that rope going across it. So shadowy figures drift across the second floor, and phantom gunshots echo throughout the saloon as if the outlaws of Cimarron are still fighting their final battles. The St. James Hotel is more than a relic of the Old West. It is a mausoleum of frontier violence where every bullet hole tells a story and every spirit lingers in sorrow or rage. If you spend the night here, you may find yourself sharing the room with the ghosts of Cimarron.
There's something that all this didn't cover. There's a painting at the first floor landing. They call the ghostly cowboy. It's a landscape photo, and for the last 50 or so years, there's been the ghostly image of a cowboy slowly appearing in the picture that was never originally painted into the picture. It just keeps slowly getting more and more solid over the years.
Yeah,
when I was a kid, you could barely see it.
Let me see here. Dude, y'all want to hear something even crazier?
What's that?
Not a single picture I took in that hotel is on my phone. There's 2 pictures from the Mercantile across the road. But
so all your St. James pictures disappeared?
Dude, every single picture. I'm looking on my phone right now. Every
holy crap
blessed picture I took there is not on my phone.
That's crazy. That is nuts.
Bro, I'm gonna ask Angie if she's got some. That's
So, in case you guys are curious on how that canyon and the town got its name,
I am.
back in the days when the cattle drives used to go through there, there's a freshwater creek, beautiful little spring-fed creek that runs through the canyon. I've fished in that creek. I've camped near that creek. I've been all over that area. And there's a scouting ranch near there called the Philmont Scout Ranch. If you were ever in Boy Scouts, you'd probably heard of it. But it was donated by the Phillips Oil Company to the Boy Scouts of America, and it's a ton of land. Kit Carson has an old house not too far from there. It's right just outside Cimarron, over by the Philmont. But when the cattle drives used to go through there, they laid up for a few days to let the cattle, drink their fill and to eat and graze, because you can't push the cattle too far too fast, or they'll start dying on you. So they were going to lay up for a few days to give the cattle time to rest. And during that time, the cook put on a great big pot and was trying to boil beans to feed the cowboys. Well, I don't know if y'all know too much about how altitude works, but above a certain altitude, water will not boil. And he tried for 3 days to get that water to boil. And all the time, it never would come to a boil so he could finish cooking those beans. And according to legend, when that cattle train was pouring out, that cook left the pot, the beans, and the fire going. And as he walked away, he cursed the pot and said, "Simmer on, you bastards, simmer on."
I like that.
And that's supposedly how that canyon and the town got its name.
I like it a lot.
Not too far from there, at the other end of the canyon, is a little town called Red River, New Mexico. And Red River has an outpost, an old outpost there, where the owner of the outpost back at the 1800s would waylay people who were traveling alone, kill them, bury them beneath the outpost, and sell their goods in the store. And when they found out what was going on, not only did they hang him, they put his head on a pole in the town square to warn people not to do that crap.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But this next stop on our little haunted journey is kind of near and dear to me, because when I was a kid, my mother was always fascinated with the state of New Mexico. My grandmother lived there when she was a little girl. She told me, my mother grew up on stories of the Old West, because my grandmother actually came back to Missouri from New Mexico in a covered wagon. Yes, my grandmother was pretty old. You wouldn't think it to look at me, but my mother was actually born in 1928, and my grandmother was born just shortly after the turn of the century. In fact, she once worked for a lady as a seamstress who ended up dying on the Titanic. So my grandmother was born back when predominantly most people still moved by horseback, and she talked of stories of coming through New Mexico in a covered wagon. And my mother always wanted to go there. And when 1975, when my dad lost his job at the steel factory in town, Mom talked Dad into selling the farm, and we moved to New Mexico. And we lived down there till after Mom died. Mom died in '82, so we lived down there for about 8 years. And so we came back, and we brought Mom home, but we lived down there for a number of years, and I really enjoyed the place. I fell in love with the scenery and everything. It's a beautiful place. But right there in the little town I lived in, a little town called Clayton, New Mexico, it's just kind of a crossroads. If you go out one direction toward Raton, in about an hour you'll be, well, it's actually a little farther than that, but an hour and a half, 2 hours, you'll be in Colorado. If you go north out of town, 10 miles, you're in Oklahoma. If you go east out of town, 10 miles, you're in Texas, at a little town called Texline, Texas. But if you go south, it's going to be a few hours, but you will eventually get to Roswell, New Mexico. So it's a little crossroads town right in the middle of nowhere. There's a canyon outside of town called Apache Canyon, and a huge battle was fought there with the cavalry. And when the Apache chief, whose name was Rabbit Ears, was killed, he was buried in one of the air burials, the not pyre, but what am I looking for, Doc? Sky burial, I believe they call it.
Sky burial, yeah.
He was supposedly buried on a mountain just outside of Clayton, New Mexico, which still bears his name. The mountains are called Rabbit Ears. They're two peaks, one larger than the other, and I've climbed both of them. But in that little town of Clayton, New Mexico, is a hotel called the Eklund Hotel, which has been there since the Santa Fe Trail went through.
Yep.
And the Eklund was, like I said, it's been there a while. It was founded in 1892. But stories say it was there even longer. It became an official hotel, but I think it was just a bar before then. The Eklund began as a mercantile before becoming a sandstone hotel, saloon, and restaurant. Its walls still bear bullet holes from saloon brawls. The hotel was a hub for frontier life. Gunfights, celebrations, and secret romantic rendezvous all unfolded there, leaving behind a charged atmosphere. Stories talk about the ghostly maid of a woman named Irene who haunts the hotel. Guests in room 307 report creaking floorboards, strange faces appearing in the wallpaper, and even phantom touches. One guest claimed her migraine was soothed by a gentle caress during the night. Her husband swore he hadn't touched her. And then, of course, there's Clayton's most famous resident, Blackjack Ketchum. Blackjack Ketchum was an outlaw. He was a train robber. Man, I don't even know how many men was attributed to him being killed, but he was an outlaw. But he was something of a modern day, well, not modern day, but he was something of a Robin Hood of his time. He founded a boys' ranch in Texas to help youths who young men who had no other place to go, and he funded it by robbing trains. In fact, that ranch is still there. And it still helps young kids, troubled youths. But he was known for giving money to people, but he was a brutal outlaw. They actually caught him near Clovis, New Mexico, and that's in Union County, New Mexico, and Clayton is the county seat. So they hauled him back, and that's where things take a turn for the weird, because this is the only time this ever happened in the Old West. Mistakes were made when they hung Blackjack Ketchum. The gallows was correct. I could take you right to the spot. It was right outside the old courthouse there in Clayton. The gallows were constructed improperly, and the rope, well, she was about 4 feet too long.
Oh,
And when they dropped him, his head came off. Said it rolled right out into the crowd while his body lay on the ground kicking. His grave's at the little cemetery right there in Clayton. I've been to it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But he was tied to the Eklund, did a lot of business there. And they say his ghost still wanders the Eklund.
Huh. Dang. That's horrible.
Yeah. You guarantee that he died in pain.
Yeah,
because they say when your head is detached, it still experiences, your brain is still active, 3 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. I wouldn't.
So he was conscious. His brain was conscious for.
Instead of breaking his neck clean and severing his spinal cord right there at C1, C2, it just popped his head off.
Just came straight off.
Lord have mercy.
They used too long. The gallows were improperly constructed, and the rope was several feet too long.
That's a bad hangman right there, because they're supposed to do a calculation with the body weight and the length of the drop and the length of the rope that they need to pop that neck. God.
Well, usually it was the other way around. Their neck didn't break, and they ended up strangling to death.
They had strangled for 20 or 30 minutes before they finally died. Mm-hmm. Now, like Tom Horn, I visited his grave up in the Pioneer Cemetery up in Boulder.
That's what happened to him, right?
Yeah, he struggled, man. Yeah, it was horrible. And he's buried right next to his brother and his sister-in-law there. His brother drove up to Cheyenne or took a train up there and picked his body up. Yeah, that was, He was hung by a water gallows because nobody wanted to pull the lever on him. It was a water gallows, and it just kept filling up this little thing, and it was a weight-based thing, and it just bloop, and it dropped. And as soon as it filled up with so much water, there went the trap door, and there he went. Yeah. It was bad. It was a bad hanging.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was bad hanging.
I remember watching that movie about him as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve McQueen.
Uh-huh.
Steve McQueen. Great movie.
Which one of you boys wants to talk about the hauntings in the Eklund?
Well,
I mean, I can read them, or Doc can eloquently that word.
You go ahead, Robbie. I've been hogging it, man. I don't want to hog it on.
There's 5 of them plus a story. Actually, I got 2 stories for this one. This one because it's kind of near and dear to me because this is where I lived. Well,
Robbie, do you want to read the encounters, or do you want to read the story? I'll
start off with this one. The more haunting details at the Eklund.
Okay.
Room 307, Irene's domain. Irene, the maid, is the most famous ghost here. Guests report phantom footsteps pacing the hallway outside the room. Faces appearing in the wallpaper, as DA said earlier.
That freaked me out.
Yeah, that's a chilling detail reported by multiple accounts. Gentle touches or caresses, often described as soothing rather than frightening. Paranormal investigators have noted temperature drops and electromagnetic spikes in this room. I'll go ahead and do the next one too, DA, since you had some stories. The salon and dining room. The Eklund Saloon.
Saloon.
Sorry, I'm reading on a little bitty phone and my eyes are not great. Sorry.
No worries.
The Eklund's Saloon was a hot spot for gunfighters and rowdy brawls. Staff and patrons have reported glasses moving on their own behind the bar, phantom piano music playing faintly, even when there's no one sitting at an instrument, and shadows crossing the room that vanish when approached.
Doc, you want to take the rest of those?
Yeah, man. So you got Blackjack Ketchum's connection. So
you missed the staircase. You're down one. You're down one.
Bad. So the staircase prior to Blackjack Ketchum, this grand staircase is said to be a paranormal hotspot. Guests climbing late at night often feel a hand on their shoulder or hear whispers urging them upward, which would definitely increase my velocity. Some claim to see apparitions in period clothing ascending or descending, only to fade away. Now, we're moving on to Blackjack Ketchum, and he was executed in Clayton in 1901 after a botched hanging that decapitated him.
A few blocks from the hotel.
Right down the street from the hotel. Now, while his spirit is more tied to the courthouse and the jail that DA talked about, the locals insist that his shadow sometimes drifts through the hotel halls, especially near the saloon, which he frequented on a regular basis. Now, travelers have reported hearing spurs jingling and boots stomping in empty corridors. The general atmosphere is described as having a charged, restless energy, which can only come from what we think is a mix of frontier history and lingering spirits. Now, paranormal groups have investigated and consistently reported those cold spots, the unexplained noises, and the apparition throughout the building. So you come to your own conclusion, but I plan on staying there, and I will be taking some equipment with me to see if I can get any data. I have nothing I got zero reaction at the St. James Hotel. I'm hoping this right here could be a little bit different.
Well, I got 2 stories that go along with this one. One's about the maid of room 307, and the other is about Blackjack himself. And would one of you boys mind taking the maid of room 307? Because I'd kind of want to save Blackjack for myself.
All right. Robbie, you want to take it? You want me to take it, brother?
I'll do it. Don't matter.
Okay.
Well, he's reading on a little bitty phone, so it might be hard on him.
I got it. I'll make do.
Come on.
I don't have 2 fancy screens like you do.
That's 3, thank you.
Excuse me. Sorry there, Rocco. I broke Doc.
Oh my God. That was funny. That was a good one. Okay.
The maid of room 307, Eklund Hotel. Clayton, New Mexico, a frontier town where outlaws, lawmen, and weary travelers once crossed paths. At its heart stands the Eklund Hotel, built in 1892. A sandstone monument to the Old West. Its saloon still bears bullet holes from brawls long past, but the most enduring mark left here is not in stone or wood, it's in spirit. Room 307, guests speak of a maid named Irene who worked here more than a century ago. Some say she died in this very room. Others whisper she was bound to it by sorrow. Whatever the truth, her presence lingers. The traveler lies awake, staring at the patterned wallpaper. Suddenly, the design ripples, shifting into the outline of a woman's face. Footsteps creak across the floorboards. A gentle hand brushes his forehead, easing his pain. He whispers thanks, but no one is there. Irene is not cruel. She comforts the sick, soothes the weary, and tends to her guests as if the hotel were still alive with frontier bustle. Yet her presence is undeniable. Staff report shadows moving in empty halls, guests feel phantom touches, and investigators record sudden drops in temperature. The Eklund Hotel is more than a relic of the Old West. It's a place where kindness lingers beyond death, where a maid's devotion outlasted her mortal years, and where, if you spend the night in room 307, you may find yourself cared for by Irene, the eternal hostess of Clayton.
I like that.
And the Blackjack Ketchum tie-in, of course, he was executed. He was hung in Clayton in 1901, but for years before that, he was a regular patron of the Eklund. Thomas Blackjack Ketchum was one of the most feared outlaws in the Southwest, a train robber, a gang leader, and a reputed killer. More than reputed, reputed that it was lots, but nobody may ever know the exact number. But after years of evading justice, he was finally captured and sentenced to death for attempting to rob a train near Folsom, New Mexico. On April 26, 1901, Ketchum was hanged in Clayton, but the execution went horribly wrong. The rope was too long, and when the trapdoor dropped, he was decapitated instantly. The head rolled into the crowd, and the body kicked gruesomely on the ground, a spectacle that haunted witnesses for years. But the story is, that was a little bit of the history. The story is called The Man in the Hat. Clayton, New Mexico, a town carved from dust and iron, where justice once came with a rope. On April 26, 1901, outlaw Blackjack Ketchum was hanged here. His execution so botched it tore his head clean from his body. They say the shock of that moment still echoes through Clayton streets, especially near the Eklund Hotel. A traveler checked into room 303. He'd heard the stories, how Ketchum's ghost wandered the halls, searching for the head he had lost. He laughed it off until midnight. The air grew cold, the lights flickered, and in the mirror the traveler saw him, a man in a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat, his face shadowed, his neck wrong, twisted, torn. The figure raised a hand, pointing toward the lobby, then vanished. The traveler followed, down the stairs, past the saloon, to the photo on the wall, a photo of Blackjack Ketchum moments before the drop. The same hat, the same coat, the same stare. Some say Blackjack's spirit lingers not out of vengeance, but confusion. A man robbed of his final breath, his final dignity. And if you stay at the Eklund Hotel, listen closely. You may hear the boots of a ghost still pacing toward justice, or forever toward the gallows.
Ooh, I like that.
The Eklund is someplace I've been many times. Every year on the 4th of July, they block off that entire section of street, of Main Street there in Clayton, and they hold a street dance out in front of the Eklund. And my sister at the time was married to a guy named Stuart, and Stuart played in a band. The band was called Eloy and the Troubadours. And Stuart was the only survivor when the band went off the road coming home from a concert, and then they all died.
God.
But Stuart played steel guitar, and he was the only one that survived the crash. Eloy and the rest of the band were all killed. But they played every year right out in front of the Eklund. And I was since Stuart was my brother-in-law, and I was probably 10 when this was going on, 9, 10. Everybody in the Eklund knew me because I would fetch drinks for the band. And I was the only 8 or 9 year old getting handed screwdrivers and double shots of whiskey and whatever because they knew I was taking them straight out to the band. And so I got to be pretty well known there when I was a kid. And I explored that hotel, and I remember hearing strange noises in the hotel, and I felt cold spots in that hotel, and I've seen the bullet holes. And the Eklund is always going to hold kind of a special place for me because I've wandered those hallways, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful old reminder of the Old West.
Yeah, man, and I'm gonna tell you, if you going up Highway 87, going towards Colorado or coming from Colorado, and you right there on North First Street, just hang your right there, buddy.
You can see it from the stoplight.
It's right there on the corner at the stoplight off of Main, dude. It's Main.
With a great big sign on top says Eklund. You can see the sign for miles.
Yep. You're going to be right there on First Street and Main Street as you're crossing. As I'm coming back home, I see it off to my left every time I come through Clayton, because I text you dang near every time I come through Clayton because of Charmaine James, 11-time world champion barrel racer. So, yeah, it's a cool town. I want to go stay there. Angie and I really want to do that.
I think you'd like it. I mean,
and their steaks are supposed to be top notch.
Well, just outside of Clayton is one of the biggest livestock auctions in the Southwest. It's called 5 States Livestock. I worked there as a kid. I ran down chutes opening pens for cattle that had been bought. They'd call out, the name of they would call over the intercom. They'd say, "We got 3 coming, chute number 5," and we'd run down and open that. And whoever the people that were bidding in the auction were assigned a chute number, and they would call them out, and we'd go open that pen, and they'd run in, and then we'd shut it. And the only time we knew we were in trouble was when they'd yell bullpen 1, and bullpen 1 is where they put the dangerous bulls. And last month I worked there at 5 Stock Livestock. My dad made me quit after this, but they called out bullpen 1, watch him, boys, he's a mean one. And I ran down and grabbed bullpen. It was right after Mom died, so I was 12. I ran down and I grabbed the pen and I opened it. It was all steel fencing, and I was pulling it open, and the point was to shoot the pen into the other side of because the gate would open and completely fill the alley. And my job was to open that and shoot that pen over there so the bull had nowhere to go but in the pen. But when they opened that chute and let him out, he was a big old Brahma bull. He come tearing out of there, and he was hauling ass. And he hit that gate before I had the time to lock it, and that knocked me flying back about 10 feet. And I hit the ground and slid, and I was laying there shaking my head, and I was stunned. And the gate does one of these numbers. It just shook and then slowly started opening, and there was nothing between me and that bull. And it come at me bellowing and hollering. And we had riders that ran those alleyways to push cattle. And the supervisor was a guy named Tom Ferguson. And Tom put his horse between me and that bull. And that bull turned its head, and it gored Tom and that bull. Damn near took Tom's leg off, killed the horse.
Good
and
Lord.
I heard the horse screaming, I'm scrambling backwards trying to get away, and then I heard 30-30s ringing out. As every cowboy within parking distance grabbed rifles and put that bull down. But it killed the horse and damn near took Tom's leg.
This is hard. Golly. I'm going to tell you what, man.
But if it hadn't been for him, I'd be dead.
Yeah. I mean, you got a ton of pissed off prime rib coming at you. It can do some damage on you, son.
Yeah. That was the meanest damn bull I ever saw.
Well, and also, don't you have, isn't it close by the XIT ranch?
Oh, yeah. It's about 40 miles.
Yeah. And now, back in its heyday, man, it was like, I was reading this when I saw the XIT sign. I'd heard about it. It was like 3 million acres, man.
It was huge. It covered a big chunk of the area around Paladuro Canyon.
3 million acres. And it's still like 12,000 acres, but
it's still a crap ton.
My God.
It encompassed pretty much all of the area around Dalhart, Texas.
Yeah, it was like 200 miles. Hell, it went down to like freaking Lubbock or something like that. It was insane.
I think most of Paladuro was in it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because it was between Lubbock. It
was going to the XIT how I learned about the Paladuro Canyon when I first heard about it. Wow. So I, after the bullpen incident, my dad made me quit. But 5 States Livestock Auction, Not only is a lot of those bought to go to ranches for breeding stock or for other ranch purposes, for them to sell later to fatten up, especially calves, but there's a huge meat processing plant right down the road, maybe a mile from five states, and they bought a lot of beef there. And the Eklund gets their beef from that meat processing plant right there in Clayton. So you ain't gonna find a much fresher steak.
Man, I can't wait to have a steak there.
Their food was food was amazing. They grind the burger themselves, or at least they used to. I haven't been there in a lot of years, but the burger was so fresh they were grinding it.
You had me at hello.
Hey, Jessica.
Hey, Jessica. Right on.
Yeah, but another story about that is back in the early 80s, right there in Texline, Texas. And you guys can look this event up. I remember when this happened. Right in Texline was a big grain silos. Grain silos where local farmers would bring their grain. And had signs all over the place, no smoking. You don't smoke anywhere near those grain silos because of the dust. A trucker got out of his truck after backing in and lit a cigarette, and those grain silos exploded, and it shattered windows in Clayton.
God almighty, dude.
What? Basically, Anfro, which is that is a moving, that's made for moving stuff. That's not just like a,
Yeah, that's the linebacker of explosives.
Yeah, that's exactly. Very good analogy.
Yeah, thank you. Versus like a plastic, which is more like the sniper of explosive. This stuff is just blunt force in your face, man.
Yeah, and it leveled everything around that grain silo. Leveled it, everything.
Including the trucker. Man. Well, I mean, the ghost in room 30, is it 307?
I think it was 307, yeah.
Yeah, so the maid, I have never heard that story until now, but there's a common theme I'm seeing with some of these stories that not all of these are malicious.
Dangerous hauntings?
Yeah, they're not malicious. They're comforting. And maybe it's a residual. I don't know, maybe it's intelligent, but it definitely mimics the way they were in life. They are in death as they were in life, as a comforting spirit or as a caretaker. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that's kind of neat. I'd see if I could request that 307 when we go there. Leave a little voice recorder on.
That would be a great one to stay in.
Yeah, it would. Anyway.
Well, the rest of the stories we have of course, if we have to do a second part of this, I can dig up plenty more. Because like Doc's saying, you can't swing a cat without finding a ghost story in the Old West.
True.
But the rest of the ones that I had prepared for tonight all take place in the same place. Tombstone, Arizona.
My favorite place.
And there's 4 of them, all in Tombstone. Doc, you want to light us up with that? Because the first one takes place in a place I know you've been to, Boot Hill.
And there she is. All right. So, let's look at this here, folks. The Boot Hill Graveyard. Boot Hill is a graveyard that's just down the street in Tombstone from the main drag, Allen Street, Fremont Street, where the infamous shootout on Fremont, it was originally known, which became known as the shootout at the OK Corral. Boot Hill is infamous for housing outlaws, gunfighters, and victims of frontier justice. I've seen the Clantons. I've seen, let me see here, whose graves have I seen? I've seen Billy Clanton, Frank McClary. I've seen Lester Moore, 4 slugs from the 44, no less, no more. Seen all those.
My favorite. I told you I was sick.
I got that one here on my phone, man.
That's my favorite.
I'm sitting here looking at them. So yeah, here's Tom McClary, Billy Clanton, and Frank McClary. I got their graves right here. So
incidentally, those 3 are some of the hauntings that are reported there.
that's why when I saw the notes, I was like, I'm going to pull those pictures up. So Tombstone's Boot Hill has reports. Now we went there during the day. We didn't go there at nighttime. I think I might have to go back there at nighttime next time we go. Of strange lights, ghostly figures, and overwhelming dread when walking among the graves. Now I didn't feel anything hinky or weird during the daytime, but could be different energy. But local lore, and I heard this from some of the folks there in town that were from there. Disturbing the graves, just kind of like what we were talking about, taking the pebble from Bodie, brings misfortune, reinforcing belief that the restless spirits of Tombstone still, to this day, guard their final resting place. So that is something I can say, a place I've been to. It's pretty cool.
Here's you an interesting note about Tombstone, about the Boot Hill on Tombstone. Before he passed away, Val Kilmer purchased a family plot and gifted it to Kurt Russell.
Isn't that cool?
Hill. That's really cool.
It's very cool.
Val's a cool guy like that.
Yeah, it's such a man. I mean, I just love the history of the West. I will say that, especially the Southwest. But Boot Hill, been there, walked around. A lot of tragedy, man. A lot of tragedy, a lot of sad deaths there. Just like if you ever go up into Deadwood, go to Mount Moriah. Been to Mount Moriah. And going to Glenwood Springs, where Doc Holliday's grave allegedly is. So that could be
Doc,
a whole.
Why don't you keep right on rolling? This is near and dear to you.
All right, man. So
me and Robbie will jump in and talk about stuff, but yeah, I like the passion that comes through on this because not only do you go to Eldorado days, this is a place that you really love.
Love it, man. And Tombstone was founded by a old miner named Ed Schifflin. Now, Ed Schifflin, back in the day, everybody was saying how crazy he was, mining in the mountains out there. And they said, man, this place is going to be your tombstone. And then he struck silver, right? In like 1879, struck silver. Tombstone was founded. So he called it Tombstone, kind of as like an in your face to his critics. So Tombstone rapidly grew. In 16 blocks along Allen Street, there were over 116 saloons in 16 blocks.
That's a lot of saloons.
It's amazing. So there was ne'er-do-wells, there was charlatans, there was brothels, there was all elements of life back in the day. And then the Birdcage Theater there in Tombstone, which I've been to, opened in 1881. Now, this earned a reputation as one of the most violent and haunted saloons in the Old West. There's at least 26 documented deaths and over 140 bullet holes still visible in its walls, and I have seen several of them. It opened on December 26, 1881 by William Hutchinson and his wife, Lottie. He was on his billy. It was originally advertised as an opera house, but it quickly shifted into a burlesque, gambling, and prostitution facility to appeal to the miners. Now, back underneath the Tombstone was another saloon. Under the Birdcage was another saloon, and it had its own cribs for the ladies of the evening. And this thing operated 24/7 for 8 years until the silver mines flooded in 1889. And if you look at those cribs downstairs, the soil doves left, stuff still there. Never has been touched, gone. Okay. The New York Times once called it the wildest, wickedest night spot between Basin Street and the Barbary Coast. And then the notorious activities is something I was talking about. Was underneath the Birdcage. They had the longest poker game in history. It lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days with a $1,000 buy-in. The tables are still set up. The chairs are forward. There's still cards and chips on the table down there. Players included Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson, and Diamond Jim Brady. Now, at least 10 men died during disputes down there in that area. Now, they called it the Birdcage Theater because there was a brothel. There was the opera boxes, but they were also converted into cribs. Now, they had dumbwaiters and elevators, everything going up on either side. As you walk in, there's a bar right there. You walk in, on either side, there's these elevators and dumbwaiters that go up. And, dude, they were serving champagne and all kinds of liquor and everything 24/7 to all these different cribs that line this. So you got 7 on one side and 7 on the other. And so This is where Wyatt Earp met Josephine. He met her downstairs because that was the more high class area. She wasn't some spirited actress from San Francisco like George Cosmatos said in the movie in 1993. Gunfights and murders, dude, all the time because people were pissed off. They were drunk. They thought they were getting jilted, thought their lover was getting jilted. Their jilted lover thought they were jilted. All kinds of stuff. It was just everybody just ran them up. Dogs and cats living together. It was just mass hysteria. So there are still bullet holes all over the place. The Fatima picture, which is there in the Birdcage Theater, has bullet holes in it. This is the Fatima. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. Let me move it a little closer. Y'all can see that. So that's the tapestry as you walk in, and there are bullet holes all over up in there. And they would shoot at her. They would shoot at the bar. They would shoot at all kinds of stuff. So besides all that, there's reported hauntings there. The lady in white, her name is Margarita. She was murdered by a jealous client in crib number 2. She was a lady evening. She appears in a white negligee singing sad Spanish songs, and male visitors have reported phantom caresses and whispers in Spanish. Now, there's stagehand Harry. He was killed in 1882 when a sandbag fell on him, and he's said to still work the rigging. You're supposed to hear the ropes and the cables and everything working on the winches and the pulleys. Phantom poker players downstairs in the basement poker room and clinking chips and ghostly voices. I caught EVP from that area of people whistling and talking down in that area in the bottom. So general activity, cold spots, phantom laughter, cigar smoke, shadowy figures drifting across the stage and the balconies. I did see some shadowy figures off to my left, off to the stage, because we were sitting on the stage during this thing. So a lot of activity. Tons of history, man. So many people have been there. Would definitely highly recommend. Tombstone is an awesome place. It's a heck of a drive to get down there, Clark. I ain't gonna lie, but man, you got some good stuff. Sorry, I know I do get into it because this is I have been fortunate enough, blessed enough. The good Lord let me go down there and love this history. So I want to share it with y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed talking.
Doc, I'll give you like 5 minutes. If you can finish up on the Tombstone history of the OK Corral, and then read the Eternal Gunfight, and then we'll start talking about the affiliates.
All right, I'm gonna make it go fast then, man. So OK Corral, it was right there next to Fly's Photography and Boarding House, right there on the corner of 4th and Fremont. And Fremont, on the other side of Fremont's where all the uppity ups lived. Over across the way on Allen Streets where the red light district was. OK Corral is most famous gunfight in the Old West, where on October 26, 1881, the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday faced off against the Clanton and McClary brothers in a 30-second shootout. There were 30 rounds fired that left 3 men dead. It's considered one of Tombstone's most haunted locations. Now, October 26, around 1881, around 3 p.m., you had Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan Earp, 3 of the 5 Earp brothers. There were actually 5 of them. Doc Holliday, along with them, who was unofficially deputized, along with Billy Clanton, Tom McClary, Frank McClary. Ike Clanton was there as well, but he turned tail and run. Now, yes, Billy Clanton and Frank and Tom McClary were both killed. Virgil and Morgan were wounded. Doc Holliday was grazed on the hip. Wyatt did not suffer a single shot. His coat was tattered with bullet holes, but he did not get wounded. Now, the aftermath, the feud escalated, and Morgan was later assassinated at Hatch's at a billiards room. Been there. Virgil was crippled out on the street by a shotgun blast, and Wyatt went on to his infamous Vendetta ride, which actually broke up right down the road here in Trinidad, Colorado, in 1882. The OK Corral became a symbol of both frontier and justice and lawlessness. Now, the reported hauntings, you got the residual energy of the eternal gunfight there, where the Clanton and McClarys are still reliving their final moments. Billy Clanton's last words were, "They murdered me." He said they murdered me right as he died on 4th Street. Tom McClary actually died on the sidewalk on Fremont Street. Phantom gunshots. People hear gunfire and hoofbeats in the area, even when there's no reenactments taking place. And I've heard people talking about that at nighttime. It sounds like you hear gunshots there at nighttime around the Flies photography area. Cowboys, armed men in period clothing, moving amongst the shadows, and people say they see them all the time. Now, Tombstone, Arizona, October 26, 1881, the day the frontier erupted in one of those infamous gunfights in American history, the OK Corral. It was 30 seconds of violence that left 3 men dead and next names of Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, and the Clanton McClary gang into legend. It began with tension simmering between the lawmen and the cowboys. The Earps and Holiday confronted Billy Clanton, Tom McClary, and Frank McClary, and witnesses said curses filled the air, and then it went into gunfire. In a half a minute, over 30 shots rang out. The Billy Clanton and the McClary brothers lay dying. Virgil and Morgan were wounded. Doc was wounded, and Wyatt walked away unscathed. The fight never truly ended because visitors claim they still linger. The phantom gunshots echoing across the lot, shadowy figures appearing at dusk, only to vanish into the wind. Some swear they hear Billy Clanton's dying words, "They murdered me." Cold spots, spectral hoofbeats, and apparitions replay the gunfight in silence as if the spirits are trapped in that eternal 30 seconds in a never-ending loop. The OK Corral is more than a tourist site. It is a battlefield where history bleeds into legend and legend bleeds into haunting. A place where the old west refuses to die. And if you want to stand there at twilight, you may hear these shots that never stopped in the eternal gunfight of Tombstone.
And that is just an absolute awesome way to wrap it up.
Thank you.
You can see Doc's passion bleeding through when we start talking about these.
I love it, man. I'm sorry I nerded out. I apologize.
Oh, dude, absolutely. That's one of the reasons I picked this topic. Was I knew it was going to be something you'd be very, very emotionally charged about.
I'm thankful that we had a snow day today, and I wasn't at the shop right now.
I'm glad you got to be here for this. When you said you weren't going to make it, I was like, oh, damn it.
I know. I was too, man. I was like, oh, this is my jam. So,
show would not have been as good if Doc hadn't been here tonight. I promise.
I appreciate it.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Well, folks, we're going to take a quick minute to tell you just a little bit about our affiliates. Check out the good folks over at SigwoArms.com, purveyors of fine firearms. They manufacture in-house. They also are manufacturing their own ammunition. So check out SigwoArms.com. Tell the Codys we sent you. And don't forget to use discount code Bigfoot5 on anything you order, because they will ship just about anywhere as long as you got an FFL to ship it to. So check them out. And I think you guys will really like it. Also, check out the good folks over at Scallywag Tactical. They make fantastic blades for all occasions. I have so many Scallywag blades, I don't know what to do with them all. They are just damn good knives. And each one's got a different purpose. I mean, they're good utility knives. They're great camp knives. They're good hunting knives. They've got everything you could possibly want. Skinning knives, survival knives, they've got it. So check out the good folks over at scallywagtactical.com. And don't forget to use discount code DARoberts10 for 10% off your order. And last but not least, Doc, you want to tell us a little bit about Dark Angel Medical?
Heck yeah, man. So our company produces, assembles medical kits, trauma kits, anything from your basic boo-boo kit all the way up to a mass casualty kit. And you can find us at darkangelmedical.com. That's www.darkangelmedical.com. Our products are HSA, FSA approved. So if you have some funds left over towards the end of the year, need to get some stuff from us, we're happy to help you out, and all of our kits are backed by our exclusive Kit for Life guarantee, where is if you save someone with one of our products, just let us know what you've utilized, send us some documentation of the save, and we'll replace that 100% free of charge. And that's called our Kit for Life guarantee. So use the coupon code Cryptid20 for 20% off, and that never expires. We're running a Black Friday sale going on right now. And so we've got our 2026 class calendar up. So we'd love to see you in a class. And if there's not a class around your area, let us know. We can get a class going in your area. And if you don't like people and you just want to take a class online, we got online training too. So head over to darkangelmedical.com and get a kit, get trained, and be the difference.
210 saves to date.
210 saves. Thank the Lord.
And that is amazing.
That is a blessing.
And one other thing I want to make sure we don't fail to mention, because I know we did the other day. Robbie, we got 3 people's books we kind of talk about. Do you want to take a minute to tell us a little bit about each of those books and where to find them?
So, obviously, you got the OG over here, the godfather of all of us, DA.
Gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
The Tom Clancy of cryptids.
That's right. His books, you can find them on Amazon and DA Roberts. You can also go to daroberts.net. You can go to his author page, which is rolling in the chats every so often. 37, is that the number now? 37 in print, and probably that many more on the back burner.
At least.
If you are in the chat and you have not read the books yet, do yourself a favor and start, because you're going to get addicted to them. Because I did, Doc did, and
Amen.
You're not going to find a better story from any other author. Then you got our good friend Luca Jacobs, and she writes in the same genre that DA and I do. She probably got what?
Close to as many as me. She's got well over 20, I think.
Yeah, she's got at least 15 in print. I know, maybe more, but Luca writes amazing books. She's got a new project she's working on right now where they're going to be going after the chupacabra, I believe, in Texas.
Or if you go to Taco Bell, it's the Chalupacabra.
Yeah, that too. And I got a few books out too, so
You got what, 6 now?
7.
7.
Yep. Working on 8 and 9 right now, but got 7 out. But they're there. Yeah. If you like his, you might like mine too.
His books
I think
are
you'll
awesome.
definitely like them.
His
Robbie's books are great.
Hey, freaking, your books are awesome. Shut up.
Well, don't ask me to talk about my books if you want to.
I know. Robbie's books are amazing, and they've only gotten better.
He continues to improve his craft, so we're very proud of him.
Amen.
So, folks, there's one other thing. We got 3 minutes to go, so we're going to wind this down quickly. One other thing I want to talk about, and that's the 22 a Day Foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is just unacceptable. So reach out to your friends and family that are veterans or first responders in any capacity. If they've worn a uniform at all and served our country or served our communities and kept us safe and free, they deserve our care and our respect. So reach out to the ones you know who've served. Let them know you think about them. Let them know you care, because fighting PTSD is bad enough other than doing it. And it's even worse when you have to do it alone. Let them know you think about them. Reach out to them, especially in this holiday season, because PTSD seems to hit the worst during the holiday time. Mission22.org is a great organization. They help out with veterans with getting them service dogs and things like that. It's just a fantastic organization. And then check out ODMP, which is Officer Down Memorial Page, odmp.com, which does for first responders basically what the Mission 22 does for veterans. It shows you line of duty deaths, even ones that weren't actively related to their job, and in a lot of cases those are suicides as well. But they both have charities that can help veterans, that can help the children of first responders who fell in the line of duty. It's sent a lot of kids to college from the children of first responders who fell. So definitely check those folks out, because we're not doing enough to help our veterans and first responders. Let's all take a moment and remember the 22nd of each month, and just set a reminder on the 22nd to reach out to everybody you know. Do a buddy check-in, check on your battle buddies, because you never know, that one text might make all the difference in the world. And let's get 22 a day down to 0 a day where it needs to be. And we are right here at the end of the hour, and we got Mr. Doc himself here, the man, the myth, the legend, and pour yourself a glass of something nice. I mean, it doesn't have to be a whole lot, just enough. I got me some old smoky salted watermelon, and Doc, if you would lead us out in the toast, I would be very, very grateful.
If you would, please remove your covers and say a prayer to those above and those below and those all around. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. Slán Javon.
Slán Javon. See you guys on Saturday.
Winds are howling, saloon doors swinging, shadows growling. Three lawmen stand tough as rawhide. Yeah, Doc and DA, nothing can abide. Whiskey shots and poker faces, staring down the darkest spaces in this town where legends roam. These boys bring justice, sending evil home. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Jed's a howler, claws of steel. Doc's a biter, makes the devil real. But DA's a shifty one, a shape-shifting soul. Can turn to anything, takes any form, takes control. Tonight the chupacabras come to town, sucking the life from all around. But these lawmen, they ain't afraid. They'll face the darkness unafraid. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and range. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Full moon rises, bat wings flap, the air grows cold, a chill and trap. But these lawmen, they're ready to fight underneath the pale moonlight. Jed and Doc transform with a howl. DA shifts, becomes a night owl. Together they stand, a force so strong against the evil right in the road. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night.